Alright everyone, let's check out what's going on with Jasmy. So to start this video off, we've been looking at this particular chart for a prolonged period of time now, so we are going to be switching things up. It's always good to look at things from a fresh perspective. Let's see how Jasmy is performing at this moment in time on the Heikin-Ashi candles. Now, I'm actually going to start off on the higher time frames and we will work our way down. So starting off, let's zoom out a bit. What you can notice here is pretty much if you're in a green uptrend, the second that you kind of get any red solidifying in the market is normally the time where you're about to roll over. So, you know, this was the only market outlier, and to be honest, this was after we were already in somewhat of an uptrend. You can see we had a market outlier here, but, you know, as you can see, you know, you have these runs up, and once the volume stops coming in, and just like here, you know, once the volume stops coming in after here, we had a lack of volume coming in here, and then from this period on, we had a lack of volume on the higher time frames. So, you know, you can correlate this pretty much to the top here, and you can correlate this to the top here, and you can see, you know, as soon as you start running out of volume, as soon as you start running out of momentum, that's normally when you're about to roll down. We are currently in a red downtrend, so I wouldn't fight the trend, especially on higher time frames on Heikin-Ashis. These have a pretty good ratio of as soon as these flip green that they're probably going to break out. In fact, they probably have one of the best ratios. I mean, if you got in here, you would have got in, and worst comes to worst, you would have sold when it flipped red, but you would have been in a profit from that. If you bought here, you know, I don't even need to tell you, if you rode this all the way up, that you would obviously be in profit. If you bought on the first green Heikin-Ashi candle coming in here, sold it as we flipped red, you would have obviously been in a profit there. So I'm still going to be waiting for the higher time frame Heikin-Ashis to flip back over. So let's check out what is going on the daily Heikin-Ashis now. I swear this was a bit more concise when I previously started out this video. If I go back too far, I might risk losing this chart. So I'm gonna come back to the chart, then I'm gonna Heikin-Ashi it, and then I'm going to remove this. So there we go, that looks better than whatever we had before. But as you can see, what you notice is you have these seas of green, and it's very it's not too often that you see these fake outs on the Heikin-Ashis where you get different bits of color coming in. So for example, you're in a sea of red here, and you can see these tiny moments where you do have either these moves back up to the EMA ribbons, or they're kind of like a little bit of a fake out. But saying that, it's very interesting when you're in an uptrend. Every single time we've had these green bits, you've had bounce on EMA ribbons, bounce into and out of the 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 EMA ribbons. So that's also something that's definitely very interesting to note, that normally once you come up to these EMA ribbons, if you do not get continuation into / above these EMA ribbons, it's normally, you know, done, dusted, curtains shut. That is the uptrend done, and you're normally waiting for that next roll back to the downside. And if we do put a basic trend line on here, you know, a horizontal ray, you can see if we do start capitulating at this moment in time, you know, once again we could be breaking into a very dangerous moment where we could be coming into price discovery if we kind of push below these levels. So at this moment in time, unfortunately, Jasmy does seem pretty sticky. I mean, on all of the time frames, Heikin-Ashis kind of tell me that we're not ready to initiate the next leg of the upside, and I'm going to talk about why. A few charts that support this theory. I'm just going to spend like 30 seconds on each of these charts coming into the end of the video, but like I said, let's step it down a level. Let's check out the 4-hour Heikin-Ashis. We're currently seeing a tiny bit of a bounce right now, but we really need to get above these EMA ribbons. Until we get above these EMA ribbons, have a successful flip, I think, you know, that's enough said. You know, since we flipped bearish on this uptrend, you can see, first of all, because a lot of people don't understand breakouts. I think people think, you know, the price goes above the EMA ribbons flip long, that must be a confirmed breakout. There's actually 3 things that you need to see a confirmed breakout in the EMA ribbons, and we're going to run through that very quickly before we jump into this. So the first thing you need to do is break above the EMA ribbons, then you need to top out. That's not a particular step, but number 2, you need to come back down and back test the EMA ribbons after you've had that breakout. And then thirdly, and most importantly, this is the most important thing of all, you need to break out, come back test, and then you need to break out from where you previously got invalidated. If you never take out that high, you never have a successful a successful flip. You can see, did it here, we didn't back test, we didn't break above, unsuccessful flip, we came up, broke down below. You can see, came up, broke down below, came up, bounced, didn't come above this trend line or this invalidation point. So as always, you break back down below. You didn't come back test, go, and once again, every single time this happens, you just capitulate further. So it seems pretty black and white. I think the 4-hourly Heikin-Ashi is a little bit too much of a smaller time frame to see too much value, but I definitely think starting things off, you know, looking at the daily and weekly Heikin-Ashis is a great way to trade these markets. I love Heikin-Ashis. I definitely think they're underrated. I really don't know many YouTubers at all that use the Heikin-Ashis. I've made a video in my educational playlist about how to use them, how they're calculated, why you would use them, etc. So if you do want to learn more about those, go over to my educational playlist. I've got 15 videos in there, and I will teach you things like how to use moving averages, how to use EMA ribbons, how to quantify the amount of volume bought or sold, and I'll also teach you, like I said, how to use Heikin-Ashi. So let's jump into the standard candle analysis, and we'll see what's going on at this moment in time. So from this micro low to this high, you can see we've come back and we're currently sitting on your 618 Fibonacci. What's interesting about this is this 618 Fib almost perfectly lines up with this trend line that we've previously been running on, and this is a line of best fit, really. There's a few different ways you can draw it. I mean, you could draw it down to the wicks here if you wanted, but then you'd be a little bit further away from some of these touch points. I find the best way to draw it is, you know, just a tiny bit below this wick and just a tiny bit above these ones here. And I think on the daily, you can see you've got some perfect candle bodies, so this is what works best for me. And as you can see, you know, the 618 Fib and this trend line are lining up very, very nicely. We've had a bounce on here so far, so that is a very, very short term good signal. But like I said, you know, we're still staring down the barrel of these EMA ribbons. This is, you know, almost like a shotgun pushed to our head. Until you get above these levels, you're really staring down the face of danger, because we could be about to, you know, get smacked against these EMA ribbons, and we could just be about to have that mass capitulation. Now I'm going to talk about a few charts that do, like myself, predict that we are going to be moving down to lower price levels, depending on how you interpret these charts. But like I said, this is my TA, this is what I think is going on. On this chart, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about other than the fact that this trend line, I mean, we can remove the 618 at this moment in time. This trend line is way more important than any Fibonacci, so I'd really be focusing on this trend line. If you do have a capitulation below 1.1 cent, and also most importantly, if you do capitulate quite hard below that level, if you capitulate below 1 cent, that's a big psychological level. We would be moving heavily down. I think we'd be coming right down to our previous low at 8 cent, and this is actually what I've been predicting for the past, I believe we were here or here. I did make a video on Jasmy yesterday. I believe we were talking about this 36% move down to 8 cent. We're obviously really not moving down too fast, and obviously it doesn't have to happen overnight. We've moved down about 2.5% since we did draw that trade up there, but we're just not seeing, you know, volume. We're not seeing open interest in Jasmy like we previously have. It seems to be single-handedly held up by people who are trading because they, you know, the Binance competitions, and it also seems to be held up by some retail traders. Other than that, not a lot of open interest whatsoever in Jasmy right now. So I think there's a lot of signals here that we are kind of, you know, at our last legs at this moment in time. You can also see we do have a doji candle signaling indecision, and a lot of the time after we see these doji candles, you know, you can see one here, we had a huge move, we had one here, you saw a huge move, you had one here, you saw a huge move. We're about to make a big decision. You know, there's not a lot of confidence in the market at this moment in time, and the fact that we're having this doji candle once again after coming back down to this trend line kind of signifies to me that, you know, we could be getting ready for that breakdown. And what are a few charts that do agree with my analysis, thinking that we could be, like I've been saying, coming down to both the 8-cent region, but also the 1.618 Fibonacci, which is all the way down here at 3.9, 0.0039 to be specific. This is a 68% drop, although that being said as well, you know, this is actually only a 67 because we've already come down a tiny bit. What are a few charts that are in agreement with me that we could be coming down for the altcoins? I'm going to spend just 20 seconds or so on each of these charts, so let's jump right into it. First of all, on Bitcoin, you can see Bitcoin is currently in a bear flag, bearish pennant, whatever you want to consider this to be. You know, to be honest, this would need to be a bear pennant if it came out like this, but you know, nonetheless, at this moment in time, we are in a bear flag. We have just got rejected once again from the top of this trend line. I don't think we are going to be breaking out of this. I would be pleasantly surprised if I was wrong. At this moment in time, you know, this is kind of showing weakness to me in the market. Coming over to the daily time frame, you can see that we are in a big bear flag. Zooming out further, you can see we're in a huge descending wedge, and the last noticeable bear flag we had was actually this huge one here, which did, bear in mind, try to fake out before we did get smacked back down. So be very careful. I think this is like fake out, breakout, fake out market. I would be expecting lower price targets before things do get better. Let's jump into total 2. So this is basically the altcoin market cap. It's the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin. And what do you notice about this? We are also in a bear flag, or we were in a bear flag. We have broken down, we are retesting it, and it looks like we want to move down. We're coming into the EMA ribbons, which are also, they're very slowly tightening. So if we kind of lollygag around this level for too long, you know, a couple more days, then these are going to tighten, and we could see either a big move up or a big move down. Normally when these tighten, just like Bollinger Bands, it's normally a signal that you're about to see a big move in the market, because everything's been so condensed and spring down for so long, and that's really what we're seeing right now. A lot of boring sideways price action on the total crypto market cap. But you know, you zoom out, that being said, we are clearly, altcoins are clearly bearish at this moment in time. So I wouldn't be trying to fight the trend. I think it's pretty black and white that Bitcoin is outperforming the altcoins, and this is what we're going to wrap up this video with. What you can see is the Bitcoin dominance is breaking out on the weekly time frame out of this descending channel. This is huge because this was also a bear flag. And when was the last time we saw a bear flag of this magnitude? Well, we have to go back a level or so, but you can actually see whether you want to call this a channel, a bear flag, whether you want to call it, you know, a W pattern within this channel, within a bear flag. These are very similar in my opinion. You've got the big drop, you've got this kind of flagging pattern, and you break to the upside of it. What happened? Where were we in this scenario before we started breaking out? Well, this was coming into the 2018 bear market, and what happened during the 2018 bear market? Bitcoin got decimated, but more importantly, altcoins got absolutely destroyed, especially altcoin BTC pairs. All the altcoin BTC pairs got wrecked as the Bitcoin dominance went up, and this is what I want to wrap up the video on. If the market cap dominance for Bitcoin does break up, the BTCD, if this goes up, you know, if this comes up to, you know, 37.5% by the end of the week, backtest the EMAs, we could be seeing a bull run on Bitcoin priced against altcoins, not priced against the US dollar. That is one thing to take note of. Bitcoin can still capitulate massively against the US dollar. What this means is simply, you know, I don't know the exact conversion rate. Let's just say hypothetically 1 Bitcoin is 100 Solana. If this breaks up, you know, all altcoins should hypothetically go down. So, you know, hypothetically you might see that now 200 Solana equals 1 Bitcoin, or 250, and it will be the same with the others. Like I said, that's not an exact math, not an exact conversion rate. Don't know what the conversion rate is, but you know, just for the sake of making a very simple demonstration, it seems like we are in this type of scenario where we are about to break bullish. Be very careful. Jasmy BTC looks hella bearish at this moment in time as well. So yeah, I do think Jasmy has lower to go against both the US dollar, but more importantly the Bitcoin pair. pair. So what does that mean for myself? I think Jasmy is going to be breaking down against Bitcoin. So my trading plan at this moment in time is to make sure I'm buying the dip on Bitcoin, making sure that I buy at 29,000, making sure I buy if we do come back down to 25, and most importantly, setting up my buy orders for 22,000 on Bitcoin, which I do think we are going to be heading down to. That is all I've got. Wish you the best of luck in these markets. As always, cowboy out. Peace.